Welcome to Riverbend Talent on WBGZ. Brought to you by the Halpin Music Company.
Another Thursday night in the Riverbend. That means the Sea Shanty Sing-Along already underway down at Morrison's Irish Pub. It also means Riverbend Talent right here on the Big C, brought to you by the Halpin Music Company and by Mr. Matt Van Voors of Macias Insurance, of German Insurance up there in Jerseyville. We got the open mic later tonight at the Conservatory with Scott Miller hosting. And then we got Cross the Line already underway at Fast Eddie's in Alton until 9 o'clock. It's a Beatles night, open jam, at the Full Moon Lounge in Godfrey. And they have a open mic on Wednesday nights. And now they've decided to do a Beatles night and a Grateful Dead night. And I believe it's Thursday, Friday. It's all brand new, so I could be wrong. Blue Monkey underway at Big Daddy's until 9. Jared Lutz, Derek Tweston, and Matt Gadigan, 7 to 10 at the Stagger Inn in Edwardsville. Brandon Muni underway at the Cabin at Judy Creek until 9. And BC Homegrown started at 5:30, goes to 8:30 at the Prairie Inn in Dorsey. And in the studio tonight, we have Crystal Lady. We do not have Pigpen. I'm not going to let him... Oh, wait, we do have Pigpen.
Whether you like it or
I've been
not.
doing fancy intros for him. Now I've just stopped. It's a new month.
Hey, whatever. I can take it as it comes. I'm an ebb and flow kind of guy. So, hey, real quick.
Yeah.
I got to jump back here.
Okay.
Full Moon Lounge.
Yeah.
Is that the one down on Clifton Terrace?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So
Yep.
because it's new owners, changed to a new name, but wow.
So the vibe is Sarah Shoemake and Everhart and Light and some other folks.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And they're doing an open mic on Wednesday.
Beautiful.
I don't know if they're involved in these open mic jams.
Dude,
Probably.
a Beatles and a Grateful Dead
It
night.
sounds like
that's,
they are.
Yeah, that's a lot of tunes to cover, just those two bands.
And like I said,
So-
I just came across that this week, so new to me. And
Yeah, well,
I'm sure we'll hear more because Everhart and Light always do a good job of talking about what they're up to. So,
Well, as soon as you said the Beatles night, I was like, "Whoa, okay, that's interesting." And a Grateful Dead night. I mean, you're hitting me right in my creamy center there.
I knew I was creamy
So,
centering.
so I mean, yeah, I'm just saying, I'm titillated. I'm very interested.
I don't know
in
if you
this.
can say that on the radio.
I just did. I'm not, so, it means I'm excited. I'm interested.
I'm excited, too, because
Yeah.
it's been 3 years since Crystal Lady's been on the show with us. Can you believe it's been that long?
There's no way it's been that long. There's no way.
They're huge, and they've been touring all over the country.
But it hasn't been 3 years. That
It
was just
has
like
been 3 years.
That feels like a
doesn't
few
feel
weeks
that long
ago,
ago.
man. Like, really.
It seriously has been. CrystalLadyBand.com.
Oh man, so you listened to our old episode earlier today, so that had to have been like a time capsule.
It sort
I
of
don't know
was.
what's going on back then.
I mean, I was trying to fill Pigpen in real quick because
good
it's
luck.
a pretty interesting story behind the band. And now the band's their own story since all this started in 2014.
All right. We're going to hear chapter 2, I guess.
Yeah,
That's
The
right.
book continues.
Because I think you guys were releasing songs the last time we talked.
Yeah, I think we just put out, or we're about to put out, our third album, Hurricane.
Right.
And now we're getting really close to releasing album number 4, called Nothing Nice to Say.
So we're going to try to catch up.
Yeah.
Getting a little dark with the fourth one.
Yeah.
I'm tired of this. I'm tired of you.
See, we were talking, it was 3 years ago. That would have been, oh man, I got to do math. Never mind. Anyways, so I think we were still talking about the previous album then.
Yeah, so if we talked 3 years ago, album 3 was not out yet because we released that at the end of 2023.
Yeah.
And we probably had a few songs
I
off
want
of
to
it
say
out.
6.
Yeah, okay.
And then
that,
you were hoping by the end of summer, but you know
Yeah.
how that goes.
Yes, no, we got that out in September. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
So we
nice.
stayed on schedule. Yeah.
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 Oh man, but yeah, no, that album was a lot of fun. That was that had a lot of the songs that we initially wrote when we all kind of first came together after version 1 of Crystal Lady broke up, and then I found the guys who are in the band now, and version 2 got together, and that had our very early figuring out how to write with each other on it. Now this album 4, this has some of our best work on it. You're going to hear Quarter to Three a little later, which I love. We shot a really cool video for that too with a guy named Moderate Clark, who's from out here also. I think he's in the Alton area. But yeah, this album, Nothing Nice to Say. A lot of these songs were written in the wake of like a couple different breakups. These songs are all like different peaks into different relationships, friendships, but all the overarching theme is I don't know, I must have gotten really angry.
It happened.
It happens. The other song that we've released off this album so far, the other singles, Baby Guess What, that one is not radio safe.
Okay.
That one has too much anger bubbling up in
let's
it.
play that one. Cue that one up.
But the title of the album, Nothing Nice to Say, comes from a song that it'll be released as a single a little bit further down the road, but it's called This Song Sucks Because It's About You. And there's a line in there that says, my mama told me don't say anything if you don't have nothing nice to say. And then I go on to just talk about how nothing mean about them, but the song sucks because it's about them because they suck. Yeah.
There you go.
All right. So as soon as you said the title, you know, Nothing Nice to Say, I immediately start thinking in my head, why is it that it's so much easier to write a sad song and an angry song than it is a happy song?
I don't know, man. I think what keeps me sane is that every time I do get angry, I put it in a song, or I go into the gym and I lift weights about it. If I wasn't doing those two things, I might be like, I don't know, I'd probably be like burning buildings down.
Well, and I think you're really hitting on it there, because it is like writing's like therapy. It's how you work through, you know, it's how you're working through whatever situation you're in, and you don't have to work through the happy times.
Yeah.
So you don't sit and write about them necessarily, but you're always writing about the sad and the angry times, and it is because you know you're working through it. But
yeah.
it baffles me that it's so hard to write a happy song.
I know,
and it's so easy. I mean, writing that, you're always like, I got a million like angry and sad ones, you know, and yeah. And as soon as you said that title, I'm like, yeah, there's some more. There's some more. I've had it. I'm fed up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a lot of heat in this album. I think that's why some of the songs are so good.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've written a couple happy songs and they're like fun to dance to, or they're more of a party vibe, and they're great tunes, like musically, lyrically, but they don't cut you deep like something that you know, real life destroyed you for a little bit.
Well, and you know, there again, you are wise beyond your years, because you've hit on another side of it that I've thought that one thing that you know, like as you're writing a song, if you can touch anybody, if you can make somebody feel anything, feel human for just 1 second in their life, you know, I mean, that's like the biggest thing that could happen, you know, and it is easier to move people or to make them feel, you know, and reach them on that sad and desperate level where, you know, but Bob Marley's Three Little Birds, just, I love the tune, but, you know, it doesn't quite move me like, it, you know, it doesn't draw a tear to my eye, you know, and so, you know, once again, you were wise. I asked the question, and I've asked this to so many people who don't have a good answer. She's given me 2 good answers already. Wow. All right. You say whatever you want now. You've answered all the questions I have for the evening. No.
So I want to catch some listeners up, and Pigpen, because it's been 3 years, so you know you forgot everything.
3's a magic number.
It is a magic number. So Kayla was talking about 2014, the first Crystal Lady album. That was recorded by Dave Toretta. That's right.
Wow.
I said that right as you were taking a drink.
Wow.
2017 was that album.
Was that?
Yeah,
Okay.
band started in 2014.
Okay,
Hold on.
That's right. 2014 start. Sorry
Before you hit me with the next fact, let's straighten this one out. How did you get, like, do you know Dave Toretta? Like,
yeah, he's from the Hill. We're Italian. He's right around the corner from my grandpa, and they're friends, and yeah.
From the Hill, okay.
Yeah.
Man, there was a restaurant over there, Russo's. I saw, man, what was it? It was so nice. They had the kitchen where you could like see it, where they cooked, and then they had like little rooms that they would divide up. Man, that place was awesome.
Yeah,
what was
Russo's.
The Russos. I was close. I forgot the la. I just said Russos. Yeah.
So then they got smart.
Sorry, now I got food on my mind.
They got smart like a lot of bands do.
Yeah.
And Joe, who's here,
Yeah.
he had recorded bands and stuff prior to this, right?
Okay.
And they come with the brilliant idea, let's make a studio in our house.
Yep.
Because paying by the hour is difficult.
You wouldn't be on album 4.
Well, I knew as fast as these guys were writing songs that I could see it was going to be expensive. And back in the early 90s, I had a recording studio in St. Louis called Audio Arts Recording. Before that, I worked at Clayton Studios, and I grew up in that studio while I was going to school at Webster University studying music. So I got out of the studio business in about 96, moved to Portland, Oregon, started producing radio shows, came back, and years later, my daughter's studying at Webster and put a band together, and they cut their first record in Dave's basement, Dave Toretto. And he gave us a great deal, but it was like, okay, they're writing, they still got 30, 40 songs we got to record, and so it was just, I'm going to put a studio back together. And then it was a big, huge learning curve, because back when I was a full-time engineer, I was cutting tape with razor blades.
Right. Yep.
And then to wrap my mind around digital recording and latency and plugins, it was like learning all over again. And now there's some things going on now that's just going to change the world. And I don't know if I've even mentioned it to these guys yet, but I've been doing a lot of research with technology, and there are people that are using AI to mix and even write and record songs, which I think it kills artistic value. But you could still record a band and record real instruments and get really good tracking done, and then plug it into your DAW and use some AI mixing tools that just... It almost makes me want to sell my equipment now. But it's just crazy.
But here's the thing, though.
Yeah, it's a tool.
It is, and I'm not saying that, I get it. That's the future, right?
It is.
I've seen enough sci-fis to know it's also the end of the world, people. No, anyway. So, you guys not watched Terminator? No, anyway, so here's the thing, though. Like you say with the AI mixing and mastering and all of this stuff, okay, it's a brave new world out there.
Right.
For $1,000, you can own a piece of equipment that will record multi-track for you with perfect clarity and all the gadgets that you want. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
And back in the days of cutting tape, you're picking up a lot of noise. That's all magnets, and it's hard to keep that clean. And now you can have how many tracks you want, perfect clarity. But the spirit of the radio, the whole Rush thing, like the machines are taking. Is AI going to give you an individual approach? No, they're going to give you a stamped out. Now, I'm not going to say that that's not the way a lot of it's done.
No.
But if you look, a lot of the albums that I like and that stick out to me, I'll give you a band, for instance, a band that I've been following for a while. I used to hang out with them quite a bit, the Revivalists. And they when they were playing at Broadway Oyster Bar and at the old Rock House, those they had these albums that were so good, right? And then all of a sudden they get popular and they put out this album that it's nothing wrong with the songs, but it's soft. It's produced perfect. I mean, it's too good. And even they knew it, and they then went to Muscle Shoals and re-recorded those same songs because that producer wasn't giving them what they need. Not that he was a bad producer. He was probably top notch because they'd finally got a hit. So it's probably an expensive guy. I don't know, but it and I think AI will be the same sort of way,
Well, I think it's like anything else. Like you were old enough to remember, like when calculators came out.
Yeah.
The first calculator was like $300 or $500.
Right. Radio Shack, man.
Exactly.
Tandy Corporation.
These tools now, you can tell it to make it sound like it's got harmonic distortion that you would get from tape. You could say, "Oh, I love this kick drum on this Nirvana record, and here make it sound like that," and it does it. You
Okay.
don't have to have any knowledge of how to make
How to
that
make
sound,
that.
how to EQ it, how to shape the reverb, how to delay it, and it's like, you know, nowadays everybody and their brother has a recording studio in their house, and it's driven the prices down, but still the person who's operating the equipment,
Yeah.
that's where it is.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
But now with AI, it's getting to the point where a novice can say, make it sound like this.
Okay, so what you said kind of opened my eyes there.
Yeah.
It's sort of the next level of what I was thinking. I was
Yeah.
thinking that you give AI a song, go, hey, mix this for me, master it for me. We like this band and that band or whatever. But if you go into each individual instrument and say, I want this to sound, I want these drums to sound like Vinnie Paul, and I want the guitar to sound like, you know, Gene Simmons, or I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. But if you're going into and not just saying give me a generic stamp for the song, but going into each individual
Yeah.
thing, I see that.
Yeah.
I see that.
I'm glad you straightened him out on that too, because I've been trying to tell him that AI is advancing faster than he realizes.
Every day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
I get it.
he's been like, I don't know about this AI, which you know I feel the same way, but I don't think he realizes like how technical AI is getting. It's drawing from every single producer ever to put anything out ever.
I get it.
All the little quirks, all the little EQ frequencies that that a producer might have put in an article or any of those things.
I understand
And,
every piece of
now
information that's
actually-
been fed, it knows. But I was picturing more of a generics thing,
Right.
and not going in
That's-
and
that's-
tweaking it.
That's where I've been trying to advance you on the AI thing.
Yeah, I got it.
Here's
Nice.
I know a lot of people who are afraid of AI, people who love it, people who are on the fence. As an artist, someone who writes and performs and we record, I know there's a lot of people who are using AI to make really crappy artificial art. And I think what this is going to do for people like us who actually write our own music, we perform live, we play our own instruments, we work hard on it, it's going to create a real distinct line in the sand, and people are going to get sick of like super ultra fake, like, oh, AI wrote the song, AI is playing the fake instruments, AI is singing it, and then they're going to see people who are still doing the art form, and I think it's going to create almost a renaissance for us, because eventually people are going to get sick of like the super artificial, just generated, no thought, no love, no heart behind it type of. You'll see pictures and people are creating videos and stuff, and it's very clearly AI. And even the stuff that looks really good, I think from an artistic standpoint you can still tell when like an artist put their all into something versus someone who said, hey, ChatGPT, write me a song about how I was at the park yesterday and I saw a butterfly and it's a metaphor for this.
Right,
Like, yeah.
So I had this conversation. I was having this conversation with a couple people about, you know, some songwriters talking about, you know, AI writing these songs, you know, and I kind of I was taking kind of what you say and going, look, AI can write. So I get it. It knows all this information, but it's not going to know person. It doesn't know people yet. You know, it's trying. And they actually, I've heard they want us now to talk to AI the way we normally talk, because it wants to learn how to imitate it, you know, how to be us better and not be so formal about it all. But what I was saying is, look, man, you take a serious subject, you know, and how's it really going to write? And I said, okay, let's take, you know, child abuse. Hey, and so I asked AI to write me a song about child abuse. Now I understand now a little bit more about it. That's been a while back. You have to get very specific with your questioning. But when I said, AI, write me a song about child abuse that's sad, and it said, please contact your local child abuse center and put up a number, and that's all. It didn't write me a song.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, you know, now Todd Snyder sure did that. So, you know, like, I couldn't. It just, I don't know. I'm with you. I think at some point, it's just like the pictures. When you look at them and go, well, that looks very much like AI made that picture. And I know it's getting harder and harder to distinguish every day. But and it's going to be, it's going to continue to get harder.
Just think what it's going to be like 30 years from now.
Right.
I don't know if we're going to be able to tell the difference.
Yeah.
And see, here's where my mind keeps going on this. So, like when MP3s started becoming a big thing, I didn't like them. I still don't like them to this day. But here's my question. Do younger listeners know the difference between an MP3 sound and a WAV file?
Oh, I doubt it.
So,
No.
So they're used to listening to MP3s.
yeah.
So
They've
do you
grown up
mix
listening
for your
to it.
audience or do you mix for you? I will not play MP3s. I get my CDs out. I pull the WAV file off of them. I can tell way.
Oh, yeah.
It's so much better.
So when I got my very first iPod, it was a gift, and I thought, oh, everything's thin, everything's crap, and I had to look up how an MP3 was made. Oh, they take frequencies away. They squish it down by going, well, this frequency isn't that important, this one isn't, and they make it small enough to. And if I even though I owned one, I hated it. But then something magical about being able to walk around with 10,000 songs in your pocket. However, I still prefer to go back to WAV files, or like my teenage daughter, I bought her a record player, and she likes records. She likes to sit and listen to records. Even though she loves listening on her phone to music all day long, she understands, she hears the difference, how fat those files, the sounds are.
This is the dilemma that all recording artists have, is like when we're in the studio and we mix a song, we'll put a ton of space in there. We'll have guitar coming out of the left speaker, and then we'll have separation. We'll have 2 or 3 guitar parts. This one's coming out over here. This one's coming out over there, and it creates this like really cool effect, and you feel like surrounded by the sound, and it's super layered. And I've laid down 4 vocal tracks, like a lead, a backup, a double for the lead. And we have this super layered like lasagna of a song that's just like wrapping you up. But then for Spotify, Apple Music, all these things, we got to squash the hell out of them, compress them into almost nothing, and you don't really get that. But if you buy the CD, or if you listen on nice speakers, you'll hear it all. But the way people listen to music just out of their phones,
right?
I can't.
One speaker.
Yeah. I even at the gym, I'm wearing my like really nice Audio Technica headphones because I can't stand listening on just like little earbuds or crappy speakers. It's
Now, have you ever used in-ear monitors?
Oh, that's all. I will only perform with the in-ear monitors.
Yeah, I was going to say now because I've never been a fan of earbuds, like with my, I always had to have the big cushy 1970s looking,
Yeah.
But finally with in-ear monitors, I've learned to accept shoving something in my ear because it works, if you're in a room with that much vibrations going on, the headphones will not block it out, which means you have bleed over, and then they're not really working.
Yeah.
But if you plug them up right and it gives you the bass response, So you're on track there with most people that once they try them, they don't want to go. Like I don't want to go back.
And I won't even perform shows at places that won't let me run my ears. It's because it's damaging for you to be in a room like that performing that loud. It's crazy. I know singers who don't use them at all, can't stand them, don't use them, and they've been playing for years. I'm like, you're gonna be deaf when you're 40. Oh my God.
What?
But
Amen.
But I tried with some like generic in-ear monitors at first. Like Shure makes a pretty good generic in-ear monitor. It's like $99, and most people are okay with those. I didn't like them. They've very limited drivers in there. I went and I had to go for the like custom molded in-ear West tones.
Oh, nice.
And I guard those with my life. That is like, I'm a musician, I'm a creative, I'm a disorganized person. You can ask me any time of day where my in-ear monitors are, and I know. That's like the one thing that I know for sure.
That's nice.
So
Can't find my car keys, but
so if you're let's take this. You said you play at Tucker's, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about those dates here in a minute, but I don't know Tucker's. I'm assuming this is a bar.
Yeah.
type
So
situation.
this is.
So let me ask you real quick. To run into your monitors, everything has to be mic'd.
Yeah, so I just drop a mic on the guitar amp and the bass amp. My vocal mic picks up enough of the drums. But at places like that, I'm bringing my own PA, my own sound, so I'm in control of all of it.
Right.
So yeah, I'll put.
But I didn't know if you actually took the time to mic every drum and all of that, or if you're just
No, not every drum. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing about in-ear monitors, that like the way that that I've gotten used to them, we have the mix of everything, where every drum's mic'd, everything's mic'd. Well, if you go out somewhere, you have to have the time to do that, and then the equipment and the energy and all that. But I do know a few bands that like kind of like what you're saying, where they just put one on the guitar amp, the bass amp, maybe one in the kick and the snare, and
Yeah, and drums are so loud, and when you're playing in a place like at Tucker's we'll play outside. They've got a nice big stage. We all kind of spread out. I mean, drums are still so loud, and then you've got that isolation of guitar amp over on the left side, bass amp over on the right side. I stand directly in front of the drum kit. My microphone and then the microphone on the 2 amps is going to pick up enough drums to where I don't need a ton. Drums are typically one of the loudest things on the stage, and that's where you create an issue with stage volume. Why you go to places, big venues that are well known, and the sound sounds like crap is because they have the whole band turned up way too loud on stage to make sure everyone can hear themselves over the drummer. And then you create this effect of the stage sound is so loud that it's getting into the crowd. The sound guys don't have a whole lot of control now over the front of house sound. And then it's just like muffly and bass and drum. If everyone's using in-ear monitors, you can have a silent stage and you can have beautiful front of house sounds. Yeah.
It comes down to the drums more.
Yeah.
Where I've actually worked with bands where I've been running sound where the drummer is not the loudest one. There's a stage volume issue, and the drummer's not the loudest one. It's the bass player. Something's like, okay, this is ridiculous. There's a volume knob on this. I mean, the drummer wants to hit with a certain intensity to get the tone that he's getting. And those are acoustic instruments. You got to deal with what it is. But when an amplified instrument is the problem, I have very little tolerance for this sort of
Dylan,
thing.
I was going to say, this is a perfect segue for Dylan. Last time he was here, he told us a story about when they played the Sheldon and he brought his amplifier.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was pretty good. So we were doing it was right when COVID had started, and we were going to do a show at the Sheldon. They were going to live stream it, and I was like, "Oh, that's a big stage. Let me bring my 810."
At the Sheldon, nice.
At the Sheldon, yeah. And the sound guy was like, "Hey, I was running my amp at 1, and it was just throwing the sound so far back that he it messed up his own mix, and he just had a bunch of problems."
Yeah.
And I think I also scratched up the stage while moving it, maybe. So that's my bad, Sheldon.
Yeah.
But then he played there again the following week with a different band, and he overheard the sound guy talking about him.
Yeah,
Wow, that's awesome.
and I brought just a completely different amp.
Yeah, the sound guy was like, "Yeah, man." He was talking to the lead singer of the other band he was playing. I think it was, "Yeah, man, we had this band last week, and the bass player brought this ridiculous amp." And Dylan's walking in, just like a much smaller one.
Well,
I've been like, I know that guy. He's a jerk, man.
really what it is, though, is 810s throw a lot of sound, but I wasn't particularly strong on stage. It was just that the guy was mixing at the back of the room, and he only heard bass. On stage, I actually wasn't that loud.
But here's the thing that we all know: the bass waves are very big waves, and they penetrate every little area. I mean, that's the one thing you do here.
Yeah.
Is the bass, no matter what's happening. And so when the bass in that sort of a room too, it's sort of acoustically set. You have to deal with the acoustics of the room, like you say, you came from Webster University.
Yeah, that room was designed pre-amplification.
Yeah. So Webster University has a theater with the sound clouds in it, right? And I think that I mean, it's made to bounce the sounds.
Yeah, for diffusion,
the Sheldon isn't exactly sound clouds, but as you say, it's built for preamps. It's built to take that sound and throw it up to the top.
It was built for before we had amplification, and the problem with bass frequencies in a room, they bounce all over and they double and triple and gang up in corners, and typically you don't even have to. The bass amp could be pointing almost anywhere, and you hear it everywhere.
Right.
Whereas a guitar amp is like a laser, and oftentimes when I'm mixing sound live, I try to get the guitar players to angle their amps up, shooting at their head and not at their ankles.
Yeah.
So they can hear it better. It flies over the audience's head, whereas if I'm sitting in the front row, the front 4 or 5 rows, and that amp is pointing right at me, all I hear is guitar.
Yeah.
Where the bass just kind of goes everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, me and my buddies who do a little sound company together, we were talking about building cradles for the front monitors because so many people want to stand right up over the top of them and get real close to the front of the stage. And now it's shooting and hitting them right in the hips. And then they're like, turn it up, I can't hear it. And if you just aim it at them, and so we're talking about building these little cradles that our little, QSCs can aim right at your head. And you won't need hardly any. It's again, because like we were saying in the scientifically, it's the waves of bass are huge and will penetrate anything where, like you say, the high end is like a laser. It won't go around a corner. It won't go through a wall. So, bass players, just calm down. Eat your cheese and crackers.
My original thinking for bringing the 810 was that since it's a streamed show and there's going to be no one in the room, it's just there for looks. They're taking a DI out anyway, so I didn't think it would be an issue.
Well,
and then it was for some reason.
See, and actually, a packed house would have helped solve that
Yeah,
issue.
it was soft in the room.
But whenever, like Joe said, if it's
empty,
they're bouncing around, man, and so
the Sheldon, even when it is packed, I played some shows there where there's a lot of people in the room. It's a funky room to play in general because every surface is hard. So because it's built for natural amplification and not, electric amplification, you hear almost like a very delayed. You're hearing yourself about a whole second later. It's crazy. And I remember the very first time I played the Sheldon, I was like 18 years old. And that was messing with me. I was on some kind of like jazz show, and I was doing, I think, like Bye Bye Blackbird, and maybe I did an Amy Winehouse song or something. And I remember going like, pack up all my camo, and in the background, camo. It's like, yeah, and it threw me off my game a little bit.
So, and that's a problem, like even like the amphitheater down here, because the way the top is domed. If you're the drummer and you're sitting, there's a sweet spot where you can beat it, but you'll pop, and I mean, that, talk about throwing you off. Where's the one? Yeah, I can't tell.
Yeah.
Even I just saw a show at the Dome a few weeks ago, and I was staring at that ceiling going, look at all these bent sound panels that to absorb that sound, or that dome would just be throwing it back at you all night. Mm-hmm. And it was there's thousands and thousands of them to keep that room under control.
Yeah, this is the great thing about music. You can constantly be learning new things. Because I remember when Pigpen first tried in-ear monitors, he was not comfortable with them at all. But hey, sometimes you got to keep trying. You got to keep trying different things. And what we got to keep trying to do now is mention our sponsors, Alton Music Company and Mr. Matt Van Voors of Macias Insurance. We are talking to Crystal Lady. They're going to be playing April 10th at Foo Bar. They're going to be playing on the 18th at Tucker's in Eldred. On April 30th, they'll be at Heavy Anchor. May 9th, Marina out at Holiday Shores. And then May 30th, they'll be right here in Alton at the Conservatory. And we'll dig into these gigs a little bit more here in a minute. Tucker's again, June 13th in Eldred. And then the Marina again, July 18th. And then one last one on your website, crystalladyband.com, is Tucker's again in November. So we'll get to those. But right now, our sponsors like us to let people know what's happening around the River Bend on a Friday night. And we got the Mustache March for PD.
All right.
With the Glendale Riders. That's at Bluff City Grill every single year from 7 until midnight. And we got all mixed up at Fast Eddie's. We got the 2026 U.S. Open Karaoke Championship qualifying round. That's right.
That's a mouthful.
At the Moose, at the Alton Moose. We got Steve Ewing Duo out at Baker's and Hale on Friday night from 7 to 11. And it's Grateful Dead night, Open Jam at the Full Moon Lounge in Godfrey, 7 o'clock. Cree Rider up at George's Pub and Grill in Jerseyville. We got Hard Drive at the Grafton Pub from 7 to 11. Improv at the Mill with Echo Cat. That's 8 o'clock at the Mill in Granite City on Friday. Let's see, Angel Farewell Tour. 8 o'clock at the Wild E Theater in Edwardsville, if that hasn't been canceled. Sometimes gigs get canceled at the Wild E, and I don't know about it. The Gusto Band playing across the parking lot at 9 o'clock backstage in Edwardsville. Mo Pleasure around the corner at Big Daddy's from 6 to 9, and Michelle and Scott will be playing the happy hour at 5 to 8 at the Stagger Inn again in Edwardsville. Kevin Gruen at the 1818 Chop House on Friday. We've got the Sacred Sessions with Matt Heaton at the Sacred Grounds Cafe from 5 to 8, and Rewind at Barrel and Brew from 7 to 10, double wide duo out at the cabin at Judy Creek from 7 to 11, and Tony G playing in Glen Carbon as well from 7 to 10 at the Tipsy Turtle Bourbon Bar. And, the last time you guys were here, 3 years ago, you were playing this event here, Road to Point Fest.
Yeah.
Semis number 2 happening at Pops Friday night. So let's see who we got here. Time Cure, A Brighter Side, Facing Infamy, Trevor May and the Nomads, Alex Peterborg, Party Hat Club, and Brave New World, vying for an opportunity to play Point
Very
Fest,
nice.
right?
Yeah.
Didn't you guys get to play Point Fest?
Yeah, we played it in 2023, and we were technically on it in 2022, but it got rained out that year.
Oh,
So,
man.
Yeah.
Do all that work.
We were on the poster twice, so that was cool. Papa Roach DM'd us in 2022.
Nice.
Technically. He responded to a story that I posted that he was tagged in. He thumbed up it, so that was cool.
Nice. So, yeah, you guys are going to be playing in town May 30th at the May 30th? Yeah.
That's going to be a really cool show.
Do you know who else is playing?
Yeah, so that is going to be the Downbads.
Nice.
They're from over here. They're Alton area. They are one of our favorite bands to work with. Really cool dudes in that band. Really solid musicians. And we did a great show with them back around Christmas time. We're like, we got to do something else again here soon. So I reached out to them about like, hey, do you have a contact at the Conservatory? Because I had played there once before years ago, and I knew they lived over this way. So I had an idea to put a show together with us and them, and they had been in contact with a band from Colorado called Blank Slate. And we've played with Blank Slate in the past before too, and they're a very good band, very interesting duo. It's a rock duo. Very indie, alternative, super cool sound. And they said, yeah, well, Blank Slate wants to come back through St. Louis like May 30th. Would you guys want to try to snag that at Conservatory and do something, the three of us? I said, absolutely. So that's going to be an awesome show. It'll be us, Downbads, and Blank Slate.
Nice.
And it'll be very alternative, very rock and roll.
Last time I seen you guys was at the Alton Night Market.
Yeah, I was emailing them this year to see if they were still doing that, and
They are.
They are. I need to know who to get in touch with.
Well, I would guess Sarah McGibney, but I don't know for sure if she does the gig still.
She would be the name I would throw out there. So.
Okay.
We like to throw her name around.
Yeah, that's always a fun one.
Good friend of ours, Sarah, works really hard to put on all those events.
Yeah.
And including Mississippi Earth Tones. And so, yeah. Hey, we got a song here. You want to play it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Let's hear it.
So this is from the latest release. I seen on YouTube that it was released August 21st, the premiere of 2025.
Yeah.
Anything else I need to know about Quarter to Three?
Quarter to Three is one of my favorite songs off this album. We've released another single since then, but this was the song that I wanted out very, very first off the jump. I think this song really sets the tone for the whole record. Quarter to Three is about kind of like a mental turmoil around 3 o'clock in the morning, late at night, making bad decisions and kind of dealing with the repercussions of that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it cues up the rest of the album very, very nice.
All right. So this is a talk station, so it's not really set up to do this kind of thing. So it'll take me a minute, but here we go. Don't say anything once I push play here because the
sure?
mics are still
But
on.
I want to.
I got to
talk, but I want to say something.
Yeah. There goes Pigman again. We'll just sit here and wait till he's ready.
I'm
You
done.
don't want live commentary during the song?
I'm done. I want to hear the song. I'm done.
Anyways, I was going to say I can't push the buttons very easily. So here we go. Quarter to Three, Crystal Lady.
She'll never get me to say it out loud. I'm high in my head, you stare my lies, but I know you see between our lines. That's alright, I'll keep you for the night till the sun comes up. You're mine, hold on tight. We don't have much time. I'll be yours until that spelling dies. 'Cause it's so totally free. All I just lost on me. I'm not too blind to see what's going on. The bar is on the floor. I don't really care anymore. I'm not looking for you and me. There's no you and me. Unless it's part of Look at this. We drove too fast and then we wrecked. What did you expect? When from the jump this was a mess. I never looked you in the eyes. You would never say I'm mine. But that's alright. I'll keep you for the night till the sun comes up. You're mine, 'cause it's so wonderfully. All I just know Sunday. I'm not too blind to see what's going on. The bar is on the floor. I don't really care anymore. I'm not looking for you and me. 'Cause it's a 2:45. All I just lost on me. I'm not too blind to see what's going on. The bar is on the floor. I don't really care anymore. I'm not looking for you and me. There's no you and me. Unless it's part of
There we go. Crystal Lady. 2:45.
Oh man, so as soon as it kicked in, unfortunately, I started asking questions. Like, how'd you do this? So real quick though, like the vocals on this. How many vocal tracks did you lay? Because it felt very thick, but it didn't seem. But it didn't seem like. Sometimes it can feel oversaturated, or it didn't have that feeling. It just felt big.
Yeah, so for this one, I think I did 3 tracks. I did my main vocal track, and then I sang the whole main part a second time.
Right, there's the big sound.
Yeah, and then we layered those, brought one down, and I make sure that they're very, very close, but not identical, so there's a little bit of distinction between the two. It adds a little bit of grit to it. And then there were a few, or actually, I don't know if there are any background vocals in this one.
Yeah, there are.
A few? Okay, there are a few like woes and ohs in a couple places that are real pulled back.
Like
Pass the
some of
mic.
yeah, so like mostly the verses are, I think, a main single track, but then kind of like how the Foo Fighters does, Dave Grohl does, he double tracks of everything, right?
Yeah.
But he mixes that second one way back to where if your ears aren't savvy, you don't notice it, but it's there. It's like a delay, but it's a natural delay. It's a Yeah.
And that's a little bit of what I was hearing in there, where I could hear that second voice, but it makes it feel.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you feel like you're listening to two voices.
No.
It just makes the voice feel bigger, which a fine job on both. Like what you say about a change, if they're identical. It's kind of like what you brought up with the having the stereo where the guitar's a little loud. You're not supposed to hear everything in both ears the exact same. you never do naturally, you know. So when you're fed both of them, everything at the same level, both theirs, it's awkward.
Yeah.
And when you separate it like that, it makes it you can distinguish, but that vocals to sing them slightly different. You know you could feel it, and nice job on the mixing too, because it had a very natural. It didn't jump out like, oh wow, you can tell that there's a lot. It just felt a little bit of that echo to it, and a nice, very well done with the song and the production on it.
Thank you. I want to talk a little bit about Dylan's part on this, because his sound is so
I'm
distinct.
glad someone can say it. You know what I'm saying?
No, that was
Dylan,
nice.
Dylan has such a distinct bass sound. But Dylan, before you kind of go into how you approach this, because it's a totally different approach when I'm connected to the story. I'm the storyteller. It's different as the instrumentalist. So I want to hear about his approach. But before you talk about this, I have to let you know that I got a text while we were listening to the song that your biggest fan is listening right now.
No.
So you have to give a shout out to Stephanie and her mother.
Shout out to Ruth.
Yes.
My day one, biggest fan. I hope you're listening. I hope you're enjoying this. And I hope to see you at our next show near you. And in fact, I know I will. It's a pleasure every time I get to see you. And shout out to Stephanie and Ruth.
All right, now, I'm your second biggest fan, and I want to know about your approach on this song.
My approach. What's specific? Anything specific or just a general?
Was it just a riff that you started with, or how did you come up with the bass line there? I love it.
So I think I came up with the chords for this one. The chord progression is something that it's a sound I really like, and I've been kind of using it a little bit too much. But when we tend to write collaboratively, and when we're just jamming over the chord progression, I really wanted to try and make the verses maybe a little bit dancey and maybe a little bit of funk and a little bit of syncopation in there, and not to be super busy. And then for the chorus, get really busy and just kind of just like crank out eighth notes the entire time. Was my approach for those parts. And then the intro, the guitar part, the very intro, we were trying to write like a bridge or like a new third section. So I was like, what if I just played the intro but on bass? Because Nick's just playing like an arpeggio, and then he plays an arpeggio over like a B minor chord. So then I just took the actual chord progression for the verse and then just did an arpeggio for each individual chord, and that's what that part is. When you hear like the solo bass part, I'm just really running arpeggios all over just the verse chord progression, and we liked it, and they were like, "Wow, that's."
Yeah, that section where Nick and Dylan are, that bridge section where Dylan's arpeggiating the chords and then Nick is kind of dancing around that. You're doubled at one point, and then Nick breaks off and starts he starts building off of it. Yeah. That's a really cool section of that song. And I think it's a lot of songs you don't hear a solo in anymore, which is like, I don't know.
It's like all our songs.
Yeah, almost all of our songs. Yeah, we were all jazz musicians prior to this.
Right.
So almost all of our songs feature a solo or at least an interlude that's instrumental, and it's a key component to the Crystal Lady sauce here. So
Secrets in the sauce.
I get a little sad when I don't hear like an interesting bass line or like a ripping guitar solo in a song, because I feel like that's, equally as important to every other part of it.
I was listening to the tune Hollywood earlier, and there's a little drum breakdown in that one.
Yeah.
So
I love that one.
yeah.
And then if I want to speak on the recording for Quarter to Three, I think in the studio we were running 3 amps for myself, but that track only has 2. The way we set it up is I had like a main clean sound that got all of my effects. Then I had a separate amp that was purely clean, no effects at all, except for sometimes there's a little bit of subharmonic synth on some of the songs, but I didn't use that at all, so we didn't track that amp. And then I had a third amp that's a kind of like a dirty bass amp. It's meant to just like crank and like get really distorted, which is kind of weird for bass amps, but it's from like the 80s, and it's like a weird one. And I had that going into a old like flatback SVT 810, and we just paired my main amp and that amp, and that's what you hear is just a blend of those two sounds.
Yeah. And you got all kinds of effects pedals and multiple basses and probably 20 or 30 amplifiers. And
Oh, and I wouldn't say 20. I probably have
50.
Specifically amplifiers. Are we talking cabinets and heads, or is there a difference between a cabinet and an amplifier head?
Dude, I don't know.
If we're just talking amplifiers, I probably have around 15.
okay.
Not that crazy.
One thing I want to say about working with Dylan, he's such a gearhead. He's got a pedal for everything.
Yeah.
And when we first started recording, I could tell he was just not happy with just getting a clean bass sound and affecting it afterwards. And I got to the point where I was like, Dylan, just do whatever you want. We'll record it and make it sound like the way you want to sound it in the room. And then it turned into, sometimes, I think on some tracks we have 4 bass tracks. We have a line in.
Yeah, we do have a clean line in.
A clean line in, 2 amps, and I don't know. I know there's some things I've mixed with 4.
You know what it is?
Yeah.
It's on one of the amps, we mic it, and we also take a DI out.
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
So
Oh, yeah,
so
you
here
want
I
the room sound.
here I am mixing. Oh yeah, and I mic the room. So here I am mixing sometimes 3 to 4 sounds, and I'm panning things left, right, center, and we just toy around with it to where you just kind of dial it in. It was like, oh yeah, that sounds good. And then it's mixing the levels of all those different sources, and you get something that you never could have even thought of, but it's there.
And this is why you have a studio in your house, because you have time to experiment on all this. Whereas if you was paying by the hour, there's no way you'd be able to sit around and. But all this time that you have now in the studio is spawning all these new ideas and trying things that don't work as well and throwing those out. So. Yeah.
One of my favorite bass players is Chris Wolstenholme of Muse. And I think live he plays with maybe like 3 or 4 amplifiers and all of the songs. You know, he has like a clean track, a distorted track, one going through a synth, and I took inspiration from that. And I really like it. I really think bass sounds best when you're not necessarily like bi-amping and getting like true separation between the frequencies, but just having multiple different sound sources, I think helps a lot.
Have you tried like a Helix?
I had the Line 6 variation of it for a little bit, like the small pedal form, and it was okay, but I'm like, I guess I'm 30 now and I'm just like old and I just want my like little boxes with knobs I can turn. I'm not trying to, have like my digital interface and get all the modeling. I kind of like having...
Well, yeah, you're so into it. So I play with a guitar player who had 2 pedal boards that he would bring, and they were huge.
I've played with 3.
But he's so into it. He's like, look, I can switch the order in which my pedals, at a button, I can change the order.
Yeah.
And that affects the sound so much.
It really does.
That
He's spitting.
That he's been playing through a Helix for about a year now, and he had one of those magnetones that was just, a dream sound.
Yeah.
It was just unbelievable. But the Helix, it is like for as much as you're liking, it can do all of that stuff at once through one box.
I've convinced myself that if I just bring like 3 amps and they're all really heavy, I'll lose weight eventually. You know what I'm saying? Because if I'm just bringing like 3 SVTs, that's like 300 pounds of gear I'm carrying just in heads alone. Then I have the 810s that are like a couple hundred pounds. I'll just get strong.
Cannot argue that, Big Ben.
But if I'm just bringing the small Helix, I'm not going to lose any weight doing that. What's the point?
He's got a plan.
I cannot. Again, I'm shut down. I'm just going to sit here.
You are.
Whew.
Hey,
that was a good one.
Speaking of shutting down, we're nearing the end of the program.
No!
Already.
Hey, did we mention everything we're supposed to mention? We mentioned our sponsors for sure, right?
We did
Music,
once, at least, maybe twice.
Helping Music.
Yeah,
And
I
the
try to go for
sexy
3.
Matt Van Vorst.
So that's 3. And I'm sure we'll mention them as well when we sign off. But I do want to mention that Argosy Casino is going to have music back down there.
Wow,
And,
okay.
Saturday is a little bit of the debut. A band that plays at the expo quite a bit, the Dirty Mugs.
Okay.
Playing from 7:30 to 9 on Saturday. All kinds of stuff going on around the River Bend. We do not have time to get to.
I forgot that the Argus even used to have. I saw Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show down there.
Yeah.
They had some great stuff going on.
So let's hope people get out and support that, because it'd be cool to get music back in the casino there.
Yeah.
I've got an Argosy casino story.
So, okay, bring it.
I have horrible luck in casinos, but the one time I ever won was $100 on roulette playing 17 black. That was my grandpa's number. And I was so jazzed about it, and I felt like it was some kind of sign. I was really close to my grandpa. That
The sign.
I left there and I got a tattoo of 17 in Roman numerals.
Nice. Yeah, okay. I thought she was going to say it was a sign to bet all the money again.
No. I won. I put that money in my pocket and I went and got a tattoo.
You know what? That is a good story.
Yeah.
That's a good story.
So thank you, Argosy.
I paid for some ink.
And then I saw the tattoo one day, and I was not happy.
Oh. You know what? I take it back. That is not a good story. From a dad's point of view, that's a horrible story. Gambling and getting tattoos.
Drinking too.
Oh, what's gone wrong in this world?
I might have had a cigarette that day.
Oh, my. Elizabeth, it's the big one. Oh, man. That's great.
Yeah, we didn't get to everything tonight because,
Because I talk too much. I know.
well, no, I don't
I'm
think
sorry.
it was. I don't think it was you, man. I think it was me. I'm gonna take
We're
the
happy to
blame
come
this
back.
time. Yeah, we'll have
Fin-
Crystal Lady back
Chapter 3.
in the future.
Absolutely.
Hopefully before
But
3 years.
I do
we
want to
won't,
mention.
we won't wait for 3 years this time.
I do want to mention, since we didn't get to Saturday, we always got it right there at cottonmouth.org. 2 pages worth of stuff on Saturday, Pigpen. And
Crazy.
that's the Riverbend for you.
That is our area.
It is. And once again, let's mention the shows coming up for Crystal Lady, starting April 10th at Foo Bar, then the 18th at Tucker's in Eldred, then April 30th at Heavy Anchor in St. Louis, May 9th, the Marina Bar out there in Holiday Shores.
Representing
Pigpen will be
Gay
out
G.
there. He used to hang there. Big one is May 30th at the Conservatory with the Down Bads and Blank Slates from Colorado, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And then June 13th, Tucker's again in Eldred, and back to the Marina Bar on July 18th and November 28th at Tucker's in Eldred. Anything else you can...
Yeah, we'll be booking more. We also do some acoustic stuff, Crystal Lady Unplugged, that's really cool. We'll be announcing those dates, and you can find we're constantly updating our website, crystalladyband.com, and then we plug it on all of our social medias. We are at Crystal Lady Band on everything. Pretty easy to find.
They have every social media you can possibly think of, plus their own Patreon, which they have extra stuff on.
Yeah, we just
including-
recorded.
You had a cooking show at one point.
We should bring that back.
We should.
Yeah, I would love to. My boyfriend just bought a house too, so we might actually have the space to do it now. But yeah, we actually just recorded a songwriting session the other night, so that's gonna get edited and go up on our Patreon here soon. So
Dylan, a cooking show, that's not going to help with your weight loss, though.
I'm actually a very picky eater, so
Okay.
it might.
There you go.
All right, our guest tonight, Crystal Lady here, and I want you to know, when you play the Marina Bar,
yeah.
I want to give you a little laugh. Every time you play there, you can look out at that lake and you can know I sunk a boat in that lake.
No.
Yeah. Got a ticket for sinking today. As a boat went down, another boat came up with a little blue light and handed me a ticket in a Ziploc baggie and left me there with the stuff going down.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, so that'll give you a laugh, something to chuckle about.
Every summer, I say I'm going to jump in that lake at the end of our shows because we're always playing in the dead heat of summer, and it's hot there on that deck. Every summer, like, at the end of the show, I'm going to jump in the water. I have not done it yet. This year will be the year.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go find your boat.
It's somewhere between Gate G and the clubhouse. So, anyway.
Hard telling, but it looks like July 18th would be the better choice for jumping in the lake. But the way the weather's been, I mean,
Yeah.
it could be next week.
96 today, I think.
Maybe.
Oh. Hey, well, thanks for coming in again.
Thank you for having
we're
us.
not going to wait 3 years, though. We're gonna wait 4. No, I'm just kidding.
Make it 5.
Anytime. I love coming over to Alton. I love finding an excuse to come over here and hang out for a little bit.
Well, we got a lot of great places to play that you guys have not played yet.
Yeah.
You got the list right there at cottonmouth.org. Just go down it and start booking away. That's what it's there for. There's places to get your music played on there.
Okay.
So if you're looking for places to send your music to, it's all on there as well. Other bands from this area that you might
Pages.
want to hook up with. We got a list of that. And by going through the list, you can find out, places that fit what you guys do.
Yeah.
And so it's all there. It's made to be a worksheet for bands to promote themselves.
I had
So,
no clue. That's
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah. So that's what we did.
Cottonmouth.org. Cottonmouth.org. I mean,
And,
O-R-G. Oh, yeah.
He loves that.
I got a speech impediment. I'm sorry. Hey, thanks again for coming down. Big thanks once again to Halpin Music and Matt Van Vors of Macias Insurance and German Insurance. And Matt can hula dance. I don't know if he can hula dance, but I bet
Dylan
he
can.
I could tell. I could sense it. I could feel the hula vibrations coming. It's making me want to.
Aloha.
His hips don't lie.
He is weirdly flexible. We'll talk about that next time.
It's not that weird. It's just,
right,
it's just
thank
flexible.
you.
Yeah, it's just
Thank
flexible,
you.
bro. So, all right. Hey, thanks again, Crystal Lady, crystalladyband.com. And thanks to everybody. Make sure, whatever you do, get out and support local music and art.